Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Professor, where we answer your questions on history, economics, culture, political philosophy, all those things that matter in our attempt to live together in a decent society.
All right, here's one from Isabella having to do with this whole Michael Flynn Russian affair of a few weeks back, saying it seems that to some politicians, when they're in opposition, leaking classified documents is courageous whistleblowing, but when they're in power, it's treasonous acts worthy of prosecution. And she's asking what would be a good framework for really analyzing these events and see, well, this one was a good one, that one was a bad one, that did not have anything to do with whether you were a Republican or a Democrat.
That's
Yes,
the gist, isn't it? I mean, because there's a very simple way to do this. Look what colored jersey the person's wearing. If it's a blue jersey, cheer for them and say there was no penalty, it's all part of the game. And if they're wearing a red jersey, you blow a whistle and send them to the penalty box. But if we're not going to do that, and this doesn't just apply to whistleblowing, though it's a very good question on that particular topic. In the United States, there's this very clear pattern. Whichever party occupies the White House claims the president has broad discretion in foreign affairs, and whichever party is out says, oh no, he's violating the separation of powers. Congress is meant to declare war and that sort of thing. And then when they switch places, suddenly the guys who are out are in and say, oh, hey, you know what? You're right. The president does have broad authority. Oh, what? No. Who said that? We never said that. That was somebody who looked like us. So if we don't want to just make it a cheap game of partisanship, let's go back to first principles. And in this case, to me, the first principle is a very deep constitutional foundation in the English-speaking world, the rule that the crown can do no wrong. And that means the exact opposite of what it would probably sound as though it meant in large parts of the world afflicted with tyranny, or in places like France with this kind of Roman law, where the rule is that the state and members of the state apparatus may do things in pursuit of the national interest that would be illegal if done by private citizens. In the English-speaking world, the crown, that is to say, the government, and those people who make up the government are, in principle, incapable of giving an illegal order. It doesn't mean that the king or a minister can't tell you to do something which is contrary to the law or contrary to the Constitution. They can obviously say these words or send you a note. Hey, go hit that guy on the head and drag him off. But that order, legally speaking, does not exist. And if you obey it, you cannot give the classic Nuremberg, I was just following orders. You are entirely responsible for performing an illegal act. So the question becomes, is the whistleblower reporting on something that is illegal, or are they not? If they're reporting on something that is illegal, then they are protected because it is not allowed for the person to do this illegal thing, even if they were doing it for what they thought were very good reasons. But if the thing is classified as a secret and is not an illegal act, and you then blab it out, you should go to jail.
What if it's grayish?
Well, the existence of twilight does not prove there aren't night and day. That's why we have trials, because someone might go in and say, oh no, it was illegal, and you've got to work out the details in
or some of it was illegal
practice.
And some of it wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're arrested for robbing a bank while wearing a shirt, you say it was legal to wear a shirt. So yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
But yeah, you have to figure out, are they exposing an illegal act or are they not? If they are, they're justified. Now, I can see a situation in which a person would be exposing something which was legal. I mean, with the United States Constitution, it's rather harder to have something be legal that's complete affront to human decency. But suppose that the law did protect this act as the law was written, and they thought the law was so unjust that they wanted to stand up and say, do you know what the government is doing with the complicity of the legislature, and be willing to go to jail for having done it? For instance, it's illegal to hack into things, and people have tried this. They've hacked it, and then they've gone to court and said, I was doing it in order to warn people of the vulnerability. And that is not a defense. But I could still see circumstances where you would see that there was such a terrifying vulnerability in some government institution, say, take a really, really wild example. Suppose somebody found that the American nuclear arsenal was not protected from hacking, that somebody might be able to actually put in a launch code. And they could go to court and say, yes, Your Honor, I broke the law. I'm prepared to go to jail because this has got to be fixed. So you could engage in an act of civil disobedience, including as a whistleblower. But the idea that you could stand up and say, hey, something is going on that I think is dirty. I know I'm legally forbidden to say this is going on. I know it's not illegal, but I just feel like I'm above the law. Then you are getting into the very territory that our Constitution protects us from, which is lawlessness in the name of the greater good. So my rule is, if they're exposing illegal activity, then they are acting on behalf of the law and should not be punishable. If they are exposing activity that is legal and is covered by rules about secrecy, then they need to be taken to court and they need to be punished. Again, the details of the case may affect how severely they're punished. There are all kinds of practical considerations. But to me, that's the principle. It is legal to expose illegality, but it is illegal to violate rules about confidentiality just because you find something unsavory.
All right. Well, I hope that answers Isabel's question. Thanks for that, folks. If you would like to ask your question of the professor, go to the URL on your screen and everything there will be explained. Thanks, and see you next time.